Today we're going to make a save system. Here's a preview. It's going to be very bare bones. So we'll just press 1 to save and 2 to load. All we're going to say right now is the player's transform and the controller rotation, but it is a system where an actual file gets saved, where Unreal exports a save file. We're going to open up our project file here and we're going to set up the basic scene. We're condensing another video that goes into the save system in a lot more depth. They cover how to save objects in your scene and how to save weapons and other things like that, and that will be linked in the description if you want a more detailed breakdown of Unreal save systems. Let's make all the files we need to get this system to work. And there's really only 4 main files plus the player that you're going to need to make this work. Right now I'm just sorting them in the order that we're actually going to work on them. First thing we're going to work on here is the save struct. It's only going to have 2 pieces of data in it for our purposes. We're going to have the player transform and then the control rotation. The next system is going to be the actual BP save game, which when you look under blueprints for save game, it'll be there, and it just has the player struct reference in it. There's really not going to be much in this file, but it will get referenced. It's you're going to look it up when you create actual blueprint, when you search for blueprints. And then there we go. We had our struct name wrong, so we had to rename that. We're also going to use an interface here. We're going to call it BPI_SaveGame, and this is going to be used in our game instance. There's going to be 4 main functions within this blueprint interface. There'd be a load game, save game, get save game, and then the actual save player function. And these will have different inputs and outputs depending on the function here. And then the main logic of the save is going to be in the game instance. There's going to be different variables we're going to set here. We're going to have the save data, which is going to be the actual save blueprint we're using. We're going to have a name for the save slot, and then we're going to add some dispatchers, and then we're just going to call it slot 1 for our save. The dispatchers we're not going to use, but they're good practice. And then we're going to implement the interface right here. We want to hook the save data into that one function, the blueprint interface function that is grayed out, the get save game data. We're going to hook the save data right in there, and then the other interfaces we're going to put into the main event graph, and we're just going to implement them right here. Event on initialize, we'll just start the first one to get the save game data to load it, which in the bottom right you see I have what the blueprints will look like eventually, but we're just going through the process of setting them up here. The system we have set up here will work both synchronous and asynchronous saving. So this probably isn't the perfect coding explanation, but you can think of it kind of like the difference between a macro and a function, where a macro takes time to implement or activate, where a function, everything within a function has to happen within 1 frame. So synchronous saving all happens in 1 frame, where asynchronous saving can happen over a period of time. And then we're going to set up a system to actually save the game. For the asynchronous is when we need those event dispatchers. We don't actually need the event dispatchers on the main save system because the system's going to save in 1 frame, so we know as soon as we activate it, it will be done. We don't need a specific call event when it finishes. And then we're setting up with the actual player save. We're going to set up the game instance to be our game instance in the project settings. And then the last thing we're going to do here is we're going to implement it in the actual player. We're going to make 3 different functions in the player. We're going to get the player save, and in order to do that, we just need to grab the actor transform, the actor rotation, and just implement them into the struct. We'll use our outputs with that same the struct name here. There we go. And we're going to break it. You can also do split pin. I like the break node. It's a little cleaner. And then the use player save. So this is what will activate when the game starts. So if there's a save and the save is valid, then go ahead and position the player where the save will go. In this instance, we're just checking, hey, is the transform at 0, 0? If you happen to have a game where the player started at 0, 0 by default, then maybe that wouldn't work. But in our instance, it's a decent way to check to see if there's a valid save file. And then this save combined is not as useful in this implementation, but I found it's a good, since you're probably going to be calling the save function quite a bit. So a nice combined function with everything you want to save is quite handy. So if you're wanting to save like other objects, which the longer tutorial by the other individual covers, then you can put that into this function. So you don't need to call everything separately every time you want to save things. You can just kind of dump it into this function and then use this function within your player. And here's our implementation. We're just making 1, save the game, and 2, load it. When we load it, we're going to check, hey, is the save data valid? And if it is, just reopen the level. And that's more just to show that the save is working, because of course it's easy to transform the player, but it will only start the level in the correct spot if the data is actually getting stored somewhere. And then we forgot to save this. There we go. And it should function. We press play. We press 1. We save the game there. And if we press 2, go back to it. And that's the save system, just to kind of show you where this save system is. Okay, we're deleting the cubes as well, since we didn't implement that. And then we're also going to delete the save file just to make sure it works correctly, which it does. And we start at the start again. All right, see you all later. Good luck.